Well, he wrapped up just a little while ago. President Cyril Ramaphosa responding to questions from the National Council of Provinces this afternoon. eNCA's Lindsay Dentlinger has been following the story. Let's get the very latest. Hi there, Lindsay. So the burning question, of course, for all South Africans is these rumours that we're going to be returning to level 3 of the lockdown. What did he say?
Yes, Sally, the DA trying to quickly sneak in that question there, and reminded by the House chairperson that that wasn't technically on the agenda. But the president finding it important enough to lay that rumour to rest. He said he was aware that people are reporting that the country would be returning to level 3 lockdown, and he said that was simply untrue. In fact, he said he didn't want to be alarmist, and he didn't want the nation to be alarmed. He informed the House that he had received a report from his medical advisory team just today. He is still to go through that report, and once he has done so, he says he could possibly be in the position to address the nation as soon as next week. And if there are any plans to return the country to a harder level of lockdown, that news would come directly from him. But Sally, I should point out that he has pointed out that he is concerned by the rising infection rate. He says the health minister, whom we know has also been infected with COVID-19, again impressing on the president how serious contracting this virus is, and the president saying that as we head into the festive season, he's really concerned that South Africans will let their guard down. He already feels that we are being too lax in taking protective measures, and so that's his real concern right now. But for now, reports that the country is returning to a harder level of lockdown, simply untrue.
Yeah, and if we don't want another hard lockdown, let's just wear our masks. It's really that simple. What did he have to say about COVID-19 corruption?
So, Sally, he faced two questions today in the House on corruption matters. As we know, this has really been dominating the agenda at Parliament in recent weeks, just next door in the National Assembly. Also, COVID-19 tender corruption being debated. But the President saying that maybe this had presented a silver lining for the country. It was his hope, he said, and he had really hoped that there would be no corruption linked to the procurement of personal protective gear. And he says it is distracted and taken away the importance of what these protective measures have done to curb the infection rates in the country, because we're so obsessed by the corruption that has circulated around the procurement of these items. But he says it's shown how the country's law enforcement agencies, 9 agencies of government, can work together. It has not been necessary to establish a commission of inquiry, and what they're really teaching us and showing us about what they can do to work together to bring those involved to book. But let's take a listen to his response to the National Council of Provinces.
On the 23rd of July 2020, I issued a proclamation to the Special Investigating Unit to investigate COVID-related maladministration and unlawful conduct in any state institution during the national state of disaster. The SIU is currently looking into 932 matters under the issued proclamation, and all these matters are at different stages of investigation. The SIU has to date provided me with 2 interim reports which outline the progress that they have made in the investigations, including where investigations have been finalized. The reports of the SIU investigations will be made public once all the necessary processes have been completed and there is no risk of jeopardizing ongoing investigations.
The President was also asked for the latest information on that trip by the Defence Minister to Zimbabwe, where she took along an ANC delegation. What's the latest there?
Yeah, Sally, we're still yet to hear from the Defence Minister herself. You might recall a few weeks back they did try to press her in the House to answer, and she said she would respond to an appropriate committee on this issue. But this is also the first time the President is responding on this controversial issue to the House, telling them that he was not in Gauteng at the time when the Minister asked for the approval, but that he subsequently signed off on the required documents once he returned. The DA, though, coming back at him and saying that this was against the ministerial handbook that permission had to be requested at least 2 weeks in advance. But the president saying that the security situation, not only in Zimbabwe, but the region is really fragile, that this was an emergency trip for the defense minister to meet with her counterparts in Zimbabwe, and she will be making follow-up trips there. And although he's saying it was an error of judgment on her part to take ANC officials with her, and for which she's now received a reprimand, and by the president's understanding that money has been paid back, he says it was an emergency, that she needed to go, and that security issues in the region are volatile, and this is part of South Africa wanting to be good neighbourly and to deal with situations before they become too volatile. So let's take a listen to his response.
Thus, as I expressed publicly, I received a written request for travel from Minister Mapisa Ngakula, dated the 7th of September 2020. The minister requested permission to travel to Zimbabwe from the 8th to the 10th of September 2020 to conduct a bilateral meeting with her Zimbabwean counterpart. Now, this is the normal request that comes my way, because I have to give permission for ministers to leave the country. But as I was not in Gauteng at the time the minister submitted her travel request, I gave the minister verbal approval of the travel on the 8th of September and signed the relevant documentation upon my return to Gauteng.
Well, thanks very much for that report, Lindsay Dentlinger.